What I really want to start off with is that even though we're not big in numbers here at the moment, there's not hundreds of us here, but what you've been fortunate enough to witness this morning is Graham Lyons, who has world-class knowledge and is an incredible man of faith and belief in freedom, and it's a real pleasure and an honour for me to be able to turn around and call that man a friend. So thanks, Graham. And you know, and here you all are, you're our friends as well, and there's an old saying, you know, birds of a feather flock together, right? And the other side of it is that you can't fly like an eagle if you surround yourself by turkeys. And unfortunately, we have a lot of turkeys that we have to blend with during our everyday life. A lot of what I speak about in these sorts of situations is constitutional law, where we sit under the Constitution, why they're not obeying the Constitution, all that sort of stuff. And look, to me, it's fascinating. I love it. Corinne, poor soul, she has to go, oh God, here we go again, right? Yes, dear, I know, you told me that before, right? And I want you, and I'll say this again, I said it yesterday, this isn't a Tim show. This is a Tim and Corinne show, right? And there's a saying that behind every great man, there's a great woman, and hopefully it's his wife. Well, in my case, I am very thankful for that because we've been married coming up 47 years early next year. So, long-suffering woman that's put up with more than what should have been allowable. But anyway, so I'm going to cover some different stuff, if that's all right. But you feel free to ask whatever questions, regardless of what I'm talking about. If you want constitutional questions, I'm happy to answer them, all that sort of stuff, right? I'll start with this. Well, before I do, I'll qualify it. Years ago, I used to run personal development seminars for all sorts of people. I wrote programs for General Motors and Telstra. I did all that sort of training and all that stuff. And it was just a passion I had to help people become more than they'd ever been before in ways that they never dreamed they could. And probably because of my background where I couldn't read or write, and to be able to reinvent myself a few times. And I want to encourage you to look at reinventing yourself on purpose. The last 4 years, you've had to reinvent yourself from who you were to who you are. And it's a bit of a butterfly in the cocoon process. It's a bit painful coming out from under this stuff. But we reinvent ourselves to become more, to become better, to become stronger, to become wiser. And in that reinventing, we then give other people permission to reinvent themselves. So I want to read this to you to start with. You may know me. I am your constant companion. I am your greatest helper, but I am your heaviest burden. I will push you onward or drag you down to failure. I'm at your command. Half the tasks you do might as well be turned over to me. I'm able to do them quickly, and I'm able to do them the same every time if that's what you wish. I'm easily managed. All you have to do is be firm with me. Show me exactly how you want it done, and after a few lessons, I will do it automatically. I am the servant of all the great men and women who have ever been. Of course, I am the servant of the failures as well. I have made all the great individuals who's ever been great, and I've made all the abject failures as well. But I work with the precision of a marvellous computer, with the intelligence of a human being. You may run me for profit, or you may run me for ruin. It makes no difference to me. Take me, be easy with me, and I will destroy you. Be firm with me, and I will put the world at your feet. Who am I? I am your habits. I am your habits. A lot of us want to change different aspects of our lives, and we think we have to come up with all sorts of plans and actions and set goals and do all this sort of thing. No, little micro changes. Wake up a little earlier, go to bed a little earlier, drink more water, little changes. Cut back on 2 cigarettes a day, little changes, micro changes lead to macro changes. And as we find ourselves in this world today, we then look at our habits that we could grow and develop. And one of the habits that we have a situation with is our fear habit. What triggers us into fear? Right? Fear. And, well, you might be paying a lot of attention to different channels on social media and all that sort of stuff, and you get a big dose of the horrendous crap that's going on in the world, and it brings you down and down and down and down and down. But tomorrow morning you go and you get back on that same damn channel and it brings you down and down and down. Stop. You know the world is full of crap. You don't need it reinforced in here every day. You don't need it for breakfast, lunch and dinner. You know that it's bad. Change that habit. Go onto YouTube, click on Powerful Mind and play something that's uplifting, that's lifting your spirit, telling you how strong, how powerful you can be. Because you will need to be strong and powerful, mind and heart, to do what you've been called to do. So you all think you're just here because of 832, because of what? No, yeah, come on. You all think you're here because, oh, well, we're the freedom warriors. Oh, really? Right? Well, you haven't given it much thought. Why didn't you take the jab? And we all got 1,000 different reasons. Oh, well, I didn't do it because of this and this. No. Let's dig down a little bit. Why didn't you? Your family did, your mates did. Why didn't you? Well, I'll tell you why. I have found the answer to that one question. Because God Almighty Himself put His finger on you and said, this is not for you. I need you for another time. Whether you believe that or not, you will find one day for it to be the truth. That the finger of the God Himself said, no, this is not for you. I need you for later. And here comes the later. We're at the time where now the great falling away and the great awakening will take place all at the same time. And for those of us who have paid any attention to the scriptures, it says that the church will only be left with a remnant. It will only be the remnant that's left. Well, what's a remnant? Well, if you've done any dressmaking or any of that sort of stuff and you've trimmed around the edge of the pattern and all that sort of stuff, there's a little bit which is the remnant. It's the offcut. It's just the remnant that's left. It's the leftovers. We're the leftovers of society. We're the remnant. Right? No, but we make up the patchwork quilt, the mosaic that is so magnificent. Because we come from every walk in life. Like, Graham's a man of great knowledge in science, right? I'm a hooligan and a petrol head, that's had a crack at reading a couple of books. And here we are, working together. And you're the same. And so it is that patchwork, this remnant, that will make the difference. Make no mistake about it. And people keep saying, oh, we need all the people. Why don't we all come together? And oh, my Lord, geez, all the freedom fighters, if they all came together as one. Yep, we'd be wiped out in 5 minutes. Does anybody remember the game, the whack-a-moles? You know, it's a thing and your little heads pop up and you smack that head down, another head pops up over there, and you smack that down, and then you're like this, and all the whack-a-moles go up and down, right? Well, imagine if all the freedom movement came together and we were just one big whack-a-mole, right? And the government come along, the corporation come along and go, oh, there's no other whack-a-moles to pop up. We're done. We need to be all these whack-a-moles. All right? So is that they can't knock us all over at once. And they don't know whether we're coming from left or right, north, south, east. They don't know where we're coming from. We just keep coming. And they struggle with that, I can tell you. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy nor suffer too much, because they live in the grey twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. We suffer many defeats. 1 minute we're up, 1 minute we're down. Next minute we're going to storm the mountain. And next minute we go, where's everybody gone? I'm here on my own. Nobody's backing me up. Right? But it is better to dare great things and fail than to not have a crack at all. I'll give you a practical example. 19 years ago, I came up with this concept of, I think I'll build a hydrogen unit. Why wouldn't you, right? I'm a mathematical genius, I'm a scientific genius, I know no, none of them, sorry. I got none of that, right? Yeah, look, I used to be able to weld once, but that was a long time ago. Well, yeah, see, what happens is this. Are you in for a little story? Yeah? Okay. I'm coming back from Melbourne from a conference I attended over there, and I called into Mars Roadhouse at Tintinara. It's all closed up now, big fence around it. And there was a truckie in there, big bloke having a feed, and this is back when fuel took off. Diesel hit $1.70 a litre. Like it went from 60 cents to $1.70. It was horrendous. And I said to this truck driver, I said, mate, how are you handling the spike in fuel prices? And he's sitting there eating his thing, and he looked up and tears started rolling down his face. And he said, my best mate just drove his truck off a cliff last night because he couldn't pay the fuel bill. And it was the only way his wife could get the insurance money to keep the house. And I had, spent some time with him and tried to console him, but he wasn't consolable, I can tell you. I got back in my car and I'm driving out the drive, getting up the highway, and I'm having a talk to the boss. I said, no, listen, you've got to show me how to help these poor truckies. They're killing themselves just for the price of fuel. Well, I don't know whether you've ever had discussions with the boss upstairs, but the answer you seem to get back is a fair amount of silence. Unless that's just me, I don't know. But we just get this silence. And anyway, so I'd finished my conversation and I thought, oh, well, we'll just keep driving. Maybe he'll give me something, I don't know. Well, weeks went past and I've got another situation going on at home with one of the kids, and I'm coming out of Gawler past the racecourse towards home, and I'm having this discussion with the boss again, and saying, we need answers for this and this and this, and I'm really into him. And I said, and I suppose you're just bloody happy to let the truckies die for the price of fuel as well. And at that point in time, my life changed. I heard what I believe to be the audible voice of God himself. And he said, Tim, I have already taught you how to make hydrogen. If you'll start, I'll finish. Well, I got home. Corinne thought I'd crashed the car. I'm like this. I'm ashen white. She said, what's wrong? I just couldn't talk. Finally, I explained to her what had just transpired. And she said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, look, I'm not the sharpest tool in the tin. But if God says move, do something, I think we better do it. And that's how we started. And we made a lot of mistakes. We spent a lot of money, a fortune, in dollars and cents trying to figure out how this worked. And I would get to a point where I would be stuck on a problem, and I'd go and sit in my chair in the lounge room and I'd take a nut or a bolt or something in there, and I'd sit there and I'd ask for the answer. And I'd just stay focused. I just need the answer for what this is, blah, blah, whatever that problem was. And quite often I'd doze off. And sometimes what I had in my hand would hit the floor and wake me up, and sometimes I'd just wake up. But every time I woke up, I had the answer that I was asking for over and over and over and over again. So that hydrogen unit, that's not mine. I'm only the hands, right? Because you've got to figure out. I had no mathematics, I had no science, I had no chemistry. I wasn't in school that day, right? And that hydrogen unit we've designed and built and use is the most efficient hydrogen system in the world. Like, I take 2.5 amps off the alternator of the Commodore to give me a 35% improvement in fuel consumption, a 20% increase in torque, and an 80% reduction in emissions for 2.5 amps. I'm not that smart. So whether you believe it or not, when you ask for the answer, you might bump into a whole bunch of silence, but keep asking the question. Ask for the answer, right? Because and we failed so many times. I've got to tell you, the failure rate on that thing is high. The amount of money on bits that are laying around our shed, if we could get back what we paid for it, we'd be doing fine, right? Oh my goodness, the ice cream man's back. Yes, right? Now, I've just got some scattered notes in here, and I thought it was wonderful that Graham quoted Dylan Thomas, right? He did drink himself to death, right? But the same quote is, do not go quietly into the night. Rage, rage, rage against the dying of the light. Here we are, rage, rage, raging against the dying of the light of freedom. In that book, the Constitution, is the truth of law in this country. It's been subverted 100%. We operate under the colour of law, not the actual law. All right, we got the attention, so we're doing okay, right? And so what happens is, it is our job to rage, not bitch and whinge and moan and complain, to rage. Yeah. To rage against the going out of the light of truth, the light of freedom. It's our job to rage against it. We are a product of the choices we make, not the circumstances we face. And look, we're all able to make choices. So are the doctors, so are the politicians, so are the police officers. They can all make choices. But I can tell you this, We and them, none of us are free from the consequences of our choices. Every choice we make carries a consequence. Being here today carries a consequence. I don't know what it'll be, but it has a consequence.
Loss of wages.
Sorry?
Loss of wages.
A loss of wages, a loss of income. Some of you's given up work. Some of yous have spent money that you wouldn't normally spend. But here you are, right? We and all others who believe in freedom as deeply as we do would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. We've proven that. That's just a given. That's just common knowledge today. You know, that's not even a revelation anymore. That just is, right? And all people have fears, but the brave put down their fears and go forward, sometimes to their death, but sometimes to victory. Fear. Graham talked about how the fear of germs, the fear of this, the fear of that, it's been instilled in us, right? But fear is not our go-to place normally. As children, the only thing we feared was a loud noise as a baby. The only thing a baby fears is a loud noise. You'll see the baby jump. You can say what you like to the baby, it's not fearful. A dog can sit there in front of them, a cat can sit there in front of them. You can show the baby anything you want, it has no fear. It's a learned process. Trouble is, we've learned it so well, we have become fearful. And fear, it's all right to say, oh, just get over your fears, don't be afraid. We're trained to be afraid. Very well trained to be afraid. Now, there's some things to be well afraid of. Copperhead snakes, right? Now, I don't particularly agree with people who think that all snakes should be preserved. I grew up with the concept of, well, if that copperhead snake's dead, it can't bite me. Nor can it have babies that are going to come and bite me. Best snake in the world? Dead snake. All right? Sorry, right? And so some fears are worth having, but fear in itself, fear of reprisal from other men, not into it. How do you get that way? How do you get to a point where you no longer have a fear? Sorry? Well, yeah, be gutsy, but, you know, when Plotigus stands there in front of you and says, well, I'm taking you to jail, I'll guarantee you fear rolls up inside you. All right? How do we overcome that fear? Knowledge is part of it, and faith is the other part of it, because I can tell you, fear and faith cannot cohabitate. It literally can't be in the same place. You can either have faith or you can have fear. Now, I'm not telling everybody here you've got to have Christian faith, you've got to have your faith, right? But for me, I came to the conclusion that I'm not getting off this planet alive. All right? Now, I'm going to try and look after the body as best I can so as I can wring the most out of it, and you wouldn't think so looking at this. But, you know, round as a shape, so I'm in good shape. Yeah, and I'm gutsy, right? I'm gutsy. Thanks, Graham. Now, I can't run up Mount Lofty, nor can I do 100 push-ups, right? Right? But we have to have a faith that what we do is right, and it can't just be a dumb belief that we picked up. It has to be rooted in truth. It has to be rooted in absolute knowledge of truth. Oh, yeah, well, Tim, whose truth? Well, your truth, right? Whatever your truth is for you, you can have faith in that. For me and many others, it's a Christian faith. It's a Christian truth. Now, over the years, I have learned there's a few things that we were taught as kids isn't quite the truth coming off the Christian altar, but that's why you need to do a lot of study on that. Motivation is what gets you started, and habit is what keeps you going. Remember what we said about habit? Right? Habit. It's a wonderful thing, habit. Where is my habit? Here it is. I am the servant of all the great men and women, and of course the servant of all the failures as well. Habit. Bad habits. They made a song about bad habits, right? But we get to change those anytime we choose. You see, we get to change our politics anytime we choose. I'll put it to you like this. I believe the current form of governance in this country is like a pair of underpants, right? And changing Liberal to Labor isn't changing your underpants, right? We can't turn them inside out either, right? We've had the same sort of governance since 1960. It's time to throw them underpants out. They're done, right? Those underpants are done, right? And let's go and buy some new ones, right? Sorry?
Can they be sexy underpants?
Sexy underpants. What do you want? Now the conversation's just gone downhill, and it was started by my wife, right? All right, red underpants, all right. Okay, whatever, right? So let me get back on track, away from, it was my fault, I went to the underpants, I apologise. Okay, so we've changed the underpants, we've bought new ones. Here's what I'd suggest. Gain knowledge and wisdom. And one is not the same as the other. Knowledge is information that you can verify to be truth. Not all information is true. But knowledge is information that you can verify as truth. When you've got your knowledge, you then have to have wisdom. Wisdom is many things, but I believe wisdom is a thing whereby you know when to disseminate parts of your knowledge. Wisdom tells you when to be silent. Wisdom tells you when to listen more than you speak, because you've got two ears, one mouth, and you wouldn't think I abide by that standing up here flapping my gums. But it's because I've had those years, those 30-odd years of learning, listening, watching before I start speaking. And so gaining knowledge and wisdom gives you then this. You need to risk more than others think is safe. You need to care more than others think is wise. Now, care doesn't mean that you allow yourself to be trampled all over. Care doesn't mean to say that you've got to wear yourself out caring for others while it drives you into the ground. That's not caring. That's foolish. If you don't take care of yourself, you can be of no value to anybody else. But care more than others think are wise. Dream more than others think is practical. I dream of a time when this country, you and I, will be free. I believe and I dream in a time in this country where we will have no corporate governance. I dream of a time in this country where we will have actual health systems, not sickness industries. Right? I believe and dream of a time when people in this country can drive on roads that don't destroy their vehicles. I believe and dream of a time when whoever is the representative of the region where you live will sit down and pay attention and listen to you. That you won't have to make an appointment and fill out a questionnaire as to every word you want to say to some peanut, and then they'll decide whether you can get an audience with them. I dream of a time where the world will look at this country and go, oh my God, those people have created almost utopia. They pay little tax. They have an enormous amount of wealth, and the standard of living is so high. I believe that we can have a situation in this country where other countries around the world, and I don't care whether it's the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, or South Africa, or anybody else, I believe that they can look at us, the Australian people, as a model as to what a true and honest representation of the people in governance, not government, governance in governing themselves, will be what everybody else in the world aspires to. And I dream that all of us here will play a part in that. Expect more than others think is possible. A lot of people don't think that that's possible. Well, let me tell you this. We were speaking about self-governance before. Governing yourself. Most people want a government that tells them how to live and what to do and when to do it. I believe that you should govern yourself. Because if you can't govern yourself, you cannot be in a position to help others in governance. Govern yourself with wisdom, courage. Govern yourselves in a way whereby you look at your behaviour, your processes in life, and ask yourself the question, if there are 1,000 children watching me, how I live, how I behave and what I do, would those 1,000 children have a good life if they modelled themselves off my own governance? If we can govern ourselves, we don't need a government. All we need is governance. And choice, not chance, determines our destinies. The choices we make. And as I said before, we're all free to make whatever choices we choose. But we're never free from the results of those choices. The doctors made their choices. The politicians have made their choices. They are not free from the responsibilities of those choices. We will come for them on a day. They will have to answer somewhere. Whether it's to you and I or whether it's to someone far greater. And I just want to finish up with this. We here in this group, we have a fair focus on the crap bucket of life. We see the crap of life. We try and fight it all day, every day. Well, I'll tell you a story. Patrick died and went to the pearly gates, and he was met there by St. Peter. And St. Peter said to Patrick, and Patrick was one of us, he was in the fight, he was in there, he was at the rallies, he was at the marches, he was writing letters and putting petitions. He was into it. And St. Peter said to Patrick, he said, "Oh, Patrick, welcome, welcome, welcome. Patrick," he said, "I have a question for you." "Oh, yes, St. Peter." "Patrick," he said, "how did you enjoy your time down on heaven?" Heaven? That was heaven? Oh my goodness. He said, "All I saw was the death, the mayhem, the this, the that, the crap of the politicians and the doctors and the newspapers." And Patrick said to him, he said, "Well, that was heaven." And Patrick said, "How could that be heaven?" "Oh," he said, "didn't you see the beautiful sunrises that were sent to you every morning? And did you not pay attention to the songs of the birds? Did you not see the beautiful flowers planted along the sides of the footpaths and the roads? Did you not pay attention to the laughter of children?" He said, "Did you not see the beautiful streams and the rocks and the moss?" He said, "Did you not see the magnificent sunsets across the mountains?" He said, "Did you not see the stars in the sky at night that blaze so beautifully?" Did you not see the moon cross over the event horizon? Did you not see it? Patrick lowered his head. He said, I saw none of it. He said, all I saw was the crap. Oh, he said, then perhaps we best send you back so as you can take another look and pay attention to the small things so as you will have joy in your life. Pay attention to the small things, not just the crap. Thank you.